Hey, you all, this picture behind me was taken around 9:41 on October 7th. The guy in the picture was watchman on a wall in Jerusalem, looking out over the city. And when I took the selfie, there were two missiles that had come in rockets. They'd come in, you can see them up here, and they came back around the interdiction of the Israeli Iron Dome, uh, hit the rockets, and you have basically a Vav that's kind of upside down, but it has a symbol of a hook. And when you see the actual picture, it's very clear. There's two clear lines, and it's like an upside down Vav, like a hook. So, what does this mean? What's the significance of it? What's going on? You're a watchman on the wall. You're standing there. You're sensing what's going on. And I sensed the terror that was trying to be produced. It was very real, very tangible to me. It wasn't an issue of tactical or strategic issue. It was an issue of trying to produce fear, and I could feel that very well in my bones. But the Vav is a word that's used to describe a letter that is the hook is used to describe it, and it's what was used in Exodus 27 9 through 10 to describe the hooks that went into the tent pegs for the tabernacle. So this kind of set apart the tabernacle, and similar with the tabernacle of David, it sets apart the boundaries of the tabernacle. And my sense from this attack, um, going into it, the 7 days that we participated, the 3 or 4 days we participated directly as a group, um, in furthering the Sukkot, there was a very powerful binding between uh, the followers of Messiah, Yeshua, and the Jewish people. There were 4 or 5 incidences that were just remarkable. The first day was a remarkable incident at the Has Promenade when we were bringing the oil of joy for the spirit of heaviness, beauty for ashes. And this young Jewish family was in mourning, it was in desperate straits, and they wouldn't receive the ministry of comfort that we had for them. But we proceeded forward in praise and celebration up to the city gates. Once we got in the city gates, we participated with various groups. Israel Hanna was able to pray for a general and a number of people in the IDF. That incident went viral in the Hebrew world regarding this American hero that prayed for the soldiers on the wall. Israel had been a soldier in the Korean Wall situation and border patrol there, and it meant a great deal to these soldiers. They gave him the patches in kind of recognition of this, and then I think Israel said somewhere around 10 to 15,000 hits on this Instagram thing about this American hero that came and prayed for the soldiers. We had one of our brothers, Jeremy, was dressed in an Orthodox outfit and carrying the lulav from the Sukkot celebration. Was asked by an Israeli tour guide to explain the nature of um, the festival. After we did our tour in Yad Vashem, there was a guide there who one of the foremost guides in Israel, like takes the Hollywood actors through Jerusalem, $3,000 or $4,000 a day. He said he was fascinated by our discussion at the coffee house and wanted to join our group's discussion, and then began to ask me about my story, and really was amazed of the intricacies, the relationship between my heart for Israel and the people. Um, we had a situation where the people are coming up doing they're going to celebrate the Western Wall, and they're in such joy with our singing and our praising that the Orthodox, the Hasidim, are participating with this. And one of the guys feels like he needs to stop us from continuing this and needs to warn the Jews that we're actually followers of Yeshua. And so one of our leaders came in and said, listen, I'll warn the people for you. You don't have to sit here all night and warn them. And she said, really? And he said, yeah, we'll do this. So the people would come up and want to dance and sing with us. And then, we tell them that we're participating, in our core values in Yeshua. And they would be perplexed. My friend, uh, Chris Kites, lived in a Sukkot in the Independence Park in downtown Jerusalem during the entire 7 days, and I was there with him and watched the Orthodox children come up and ask the parents, what are these people doing, and why do they have the 12 flags of the 12 nations? And Chris talks about Effie, the brother Ephraim, the kind of wacky brother that is joined the family, and fascinating story of his journey in relationship to that. So all this is coming to pass. This extraordinary proximity, the proximity we had with the manager at the Jerusalem Panorama Hotel. He gave us the hotel lobby to worship in. I mean, the dining space in the downstairs. Asked if people from in the hotel could worship with us. He was very, very open to us. It was just a really nice time. I actually ended up calling the hotel a church. It felt like our home. So there was this galvanizing. I had one interesting conversation with a Jewish gentleman and with a Palestinian gentleman about the nature of the Palestinian problem, and that is what I want to get into at the end of the video here. But to say that there was a huge sense of unity that was unparalleled. There was also great apprehension going in from a couple prophets. Both Matt Geary had some apprehension, and Israel Hanna had some apprehension, and the sense of tension increasing was very real. Okay, so what's going on with besides the sign here? What actually is happening? And you probably know that the Hamas position and the pro-Arab position basically looks at this conflict in a geopolitical situation, that the normalization of relationship with potentially with Saudi Arabia and Israel following the Abraham Accords was going to really diminish the Palestinian cause as a trigger point for the Arab nations. And so Hamas was faced with a position of either becoming irrelevant, because the normalization process would continue, and the Palestinian Authority understands the idea of acknowledging the existence of the state of Israel and negotiating from that position where Hamas does not. So Hamas can basically only rely on terrorism. It doesn't have any state building apparatus, and it doesn't understand how to build a state. It is incompetent. All it can basically do is destroy it, because it's cursing Israel, right? So what's going to happen? It's going to be cursed. It's not going to have a good mindset, a well-thinking mindset. And so the other side of this right now is, what do we pray into this? And I'm voting for, if you will, I'm encouraging us to pray for the destruction of Hamas completely. I believe that it will, if there's any semblance of Hamas that is left after this, it will only legitimize their position. And they don't have any state building apparatus to begin with. Whatever state building apparatuses they have, they've liquidated to attack Israel. So they're kind of like rabid dogs. So I believe there really needs to be a prayer for the people to disengage from Hamas, and from Hamas to be really destroyed. As it sought to destroy God's people, so it needs to be destroyed. Now, I also believe in Psalm 83, there's a place to pray for those to come out of Hamas. And there are many people that have come out of Hamas, and some have accepted Christ and begin to pursue the way of peace. And I believe that's where our prayer needs to be right now is for Israel to be determined, for the United States to be determined, and for us not to allow this this stain to continue. And so this hooking in of this hooking in of the tabernacle, represented by the missiles here that were interdicted. And there's a kind of a Jewish mystery that I think is wonderful to look at. We went in this trip to take it to the next generation. We had Israel Hanna and his son. We had Russell Howard and his son. We had my work and my kind of adopted sons with Patrick and Matt. And we went in, and Israel and Daniel Kirby and his cousin Coleman. The idea was to take it to the next generation and take this love for Israel to the next generation, take this tabernacle of David to the next generation, take this Sukkot to the next generation. And it is interesting that in the Bible, there's a thing called the Toldot, which is the idea of these generations. These are the generations of Noah. These are the generations of. Well, in that, the Vav is only found in two times that the Toldot is used. These are the generations, and it's in Genesis 2:4 and Ruth 4:18. In the other places between these two, the Vav is not found in the phrase "these are the generations." It's excluded, and the understanding there is that from before the fall of Adam, there was this righteous generation. And once Ruth got the seed of Perez, and Ruth was established, and the righteous seed was established through David, that hope was restored. So you have the hope prior to the fall of man, and the hope once Ruth is restored, is brought in, and the seed of David is brought in. There's a hope that moves forward. And the issue is the idea of the connection of the heavens and the earth. And that is ironically what the Vav is looked at in Hebrew mysticism as the connection between heaven and earth. Well, we have right here a connection between heaven and earth, right? We have these missiles coming down from heaven, and they're hooking into this move that God is doing to unite one new man. And this is the time that we're at. We're at the end of the time of the Gentiles. And what does this mean? It means we have some work to do. We got a lot of work to do. So that's the prophetic sign from the Watchman on the Wall. I wanted to share that with you all. And please feel free to share this directly with anybody that you know. I don't want it publicized generally on the internet or whatever. But if you're somebody you know that you think would benefit from this and from knowing about our trip, it was a great trip, guys. It was amazing, and we accomplished a great deal. And I'm totally galvanized for next year. Totally galvanized for next year. Bless you all.